Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to the another episode of Legal Steer Minds. I'm Neha, your host. Today we have a special guest with us, Sumita Sharma, a general counsel expert in litigation, transactions, advisory, and regulatory compliance. Sumita, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, it's like, I should thank you for letting me join in your great podcast. It's really nice.
Okay. So, Sumita, let's start with, your educational journey is quite fascinating. I mean, when I saw that you started your degree in BSc microbiology and then you transitioned to law and eventually become legal counsel. So, take us
That's right.
through, how you got this path or कैसे आपने सोचा कि now I mean you landed up in microbiology and then you transitioned to law. So वो क्या journey थी बताओ.
Uh, Great question, Neha. Thank you so much. I think so. My parents wanted me to be a doctor,
Okay.
and I don't think so. I had an aptitude to be a doctor, but I loved science.
Hmm.
So I thought that I should continue doing what probably as a student would have done, and I wanted to get into research and doing my PhD or in that stream. Genetic engineering was very very new at that point of time, so
Yeah.
I was really fascinated with genetics. So I thought that I'll continue something related to that, and microbiology, trust me, till today it really holds a lot of interest in my head. So I thought that physics, chemistry, mathematics was not really my cup of tea. Microbiology, biology was always something like I loved. So logic and biology, those were always my very strong subjects. So first of all was my parents, so I took up science. Then I realized I'm not up for for autopsies and for all the dissections and everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I told my parents that I can't really do that, please. But I will continue doing science. So they were happy to accommodate that request, and then I continued with my BSc in microbiology. Botany was too boring. Chemistry was a bit too much, kind of involved mathematics, because anybody who's done chemistry would know that you have certain formulas and analytical
Yeah.
chemistry, and in organic chemistry there's a lot of memorizing.
Yes.
So microbiology was something that I really thoroughly enjoyed, and that was the reason I took it up. Law, because my dad was a lawyer, or is a lawyer rather, and
Okay.
so you become a free clerk basically
Yeah.
for your parents,
Yes.
whenever at those days. My
Yeah.
dad, he'll bring his briefs home and he'll tell me, arrange this, arrange that, read little bit. So I learned A for arbitration from him, like when I was really very small.
Okay. Okay.
And that's how so this was my connection to the subject, and I realized I was good at it. When I finished my BSc, I of course tried for my masters in
Hmm.
something like more specialized, but I kind of visited TIFR and couple of other institutions, and I realized, my God, that's a lot of work, and that's different sort of work, because they spend a lot of time in labs,
Yeah.
and I'm more of a person who likes talking. I'm a little more social sort of a person. I like current topics and those
Hmm.
kind of things. So I thought it may not align. Like sometimes of course, I was
Correct.
hardly of any age, very young, but you get that feeling, right? This is like, okay, is this really for me?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and then I kind of thought myself, I envisioned myself with glasses in 2 3 years, and that kind of gave me jitters. So so I took up law. I always loved that subject as well. So, and intellectual property related rulings were coming in. It was all very new, the subject, intellectual property rights.
Yeah.
So I thought that this really gives me a lot of insight, because as a science student, you understand inventions, at least in your area,
Exactly.
and then you understand the law.
Yeah.
So
That's
that
how
was the
the
start of,
connection is. Yeah.
yeah,
So I
getting
understand
into.
that you were passionate for science and microbiology, but but then you were interested in the intricacies of the legal framework and also what kind of inventions are going on. Then probably knowing more about the current affairs and IPR. So that's how you landed up doing law. And because your father
Absolutely.
is also a lawyer, so that
Yes.
also, I mean, got a connection with. Great, great.
Yeah, it definitely becomes easier for you to understand a little bit of the
Yes,
subject
yes,
because it's all not very new, you still have some familiarity.
yes. So that was something, I mean, you combine both the fields and realize that you have potential. And I think you got that calling for, uh,
That's right.
yeah.
That's right. I always put that word, I always use that word. It was my calling to be a lawyer. So that's how.
Okay. So you attended NLS, right?
I actually did a master's in business laws, which is a distant course with NLS. So it's not fully fledged that you attend NLS
Okay.
because I was working since a long long time, so it was very difficult to attend physically, but it was a
Yes.
distance course. So it's
Okay.
for professionals like those executive MBAs that you
Yeah,
have
that helps.
with
You upskilled
ISBs and
yourself.
IIMs. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Like the weekend training and stuff.
Did it actually help you when you did this in your career?
It did. It did. Because you learn a lot while you are on the job. So you learn, okay, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening.
Yeah.
Now you start putting it in a structure when you read. And
Hmm.
when you read about it, that, okay, oh, this is how it is, this is where it leads to. So it really forms a structure in your mind that when you talk about, say, business laws, what all could be the subjects, because when you're working you get exposed to various things. Say you get
Yeah.
exposed to 10 set of acts. Now
Yeah.
when you're reading business laws, they have to of course take you through to what all is possible. So
Yes.
it may take you to 18, then you understand the connection between the 10 and the rest 8.
Yes.
So that's how it helps you, give you a larger perspective
Hmm. Hmm,
of
hmm.
what is in that subject. So on job training, rather like on job experience, along with when you study it, it really helps. So I always, I mean, maybe this is for the later part of the interview, but I always tell people that when you are studying, of course these days a lot of institutions send people do internships
Yes.
while they are at. I
Yeah.
always tell them that take up some work in between,
Hmm.
because it really gives you so much of perspective,
Hmm.
especially law as a subject. It
Yeah.
gives you so much perspective. If you're working,
Hmm.
you will not know why am I reading contract act and how it plays out in the court, or how
Hmm.
it plays out in negotiation. Mostly it's the court because acts were framed to be enforced. So but it gives you so much understanding and a better understanding, and it becomes part of your system. You don't have to, like, externally absorb it. It just settles in. So working and studying together really gives you a, like, it, I think it brings in a very sharp understanding of how this law is, what it is, why it is, and how to use it.
Yeah. How to use this strategically. I mean, you can connect with the issues and the case studies with what you are reading.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you do you also happen to, I mean, do you have that habit to read newspaper every day?
Yeah,
To
yeah, yeah.
you to get to know
Yes,
about the
absolutely.
current affairs, and I mean that also help my, I mean, I ask my candidates to read newspaper because at least economic times, because that gives you idea on what is happening around the world, and what kind, that is the real case studies to I mean in addition to pursuing any course, do this regularly. So thank
Yes,
you for this advice.
I think that's great advice,
Yeah.
and it will not help them only with particular, any job search or anything, but it helps you as an individual because you
Yes.
understand so much what's happening around you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just, like, you're sitting inside your house and you don't know what's happening outside. So
Yeah.
and many a times all these things which are going outside, sometimes it really impacts you directly. So
Hmm.
if you don't know what's happening, like, sometimes, Certain sort of businesses are flying away from India, certain businesses are coming in India, certain businesses now. I mean, today I read there's this TER cell therapy which helped Indian cancer patients become totally cancer free. Now, it may not really help me in my subject right now, but maybe somewhere I understand, that's a context. So it's a very, you've seen Slumdog Millionaire.
Yeah.
Now that the person who was on the hot seat, the hero of the movie,
Hmm.
answers each question, and there's a story behind that, how he knows that answer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you never know once you know some answer where it helps you in life.
Is
So
it
of
actually
course,
a conversation starter as well? What I understand is, क्योंकि
yes,
when you meet people, आपके profession में you meet a lot of people. So
correct,
when you meet them and you can start the conversation by telling them what is happening around. For example, a Paytm
correct.
is going on a lot of things
Yeah, yeah.
strategically, and yeah, so that's how. Coming to your career, your initial times of career were involved in high court proceedings, arbitration matters, consumer protection laws. So, can you recall
Yes.
what kind of challenging moment that has come? Maybe you have attended the court first time, that experience you can share, or maybe you can share any other, which was the challenging one and had a lasting impression on you. So, can you just tell us?
Absolutely. So I started working while I was actually studying, and I kind of, I went to the High Court for the first time, and I realized Bombay High Court
Hmm.
that those days were not working. So there
Okay.
were no lifts. And, I think I had a matter on the third floor. I mean, I was basically assisting a senior, and
Okay.
the matter was on the second floor or the third floor. And he told me, like, you carry my briefs,
Mhm.
and I had to carry the briefs, and be there. And then, of course, you have to help the senior when they're
Yeah.
kind of arguing or
Yes.
briefing a counsel.
Yeah.
Like that's how it works in Bombay High
Yeah.
Court. So first of all, I thought that my God, there's a lot of physical labor, and then I thought, okay, then you have to read, and you have to be up on. So that was my first stint. I realized there's a lot of hard work.
Yes.
Like, of course, I've seen my dad, doing a lot
Doing
of
it.
transactional work.
Yeah.
And, but for the first time, it was like a direct, like, it's your journey when you begin. So that was like, I still remember my first day so vividly in my head. And then, of course, it becomes your everyday life. And there were a couple of matters. So I was doing a lot of real estate at that point of time. I was doing arbitration laws. I was doing I did a bit of consumer and DRT. And particularly, I enjoyed High Court and DRT. So I recall, I mean, I won't name the bank, but
Yes. Yes.
certain bank, how they were enforcing, those days,
Mm-hmm.
people, those who pay up the loan. And I met a lawyer who was, I think, a practicing lawyer from
Mm-hmm.
US, and he was a defaulter in his own matter, and he was arguing the matter, and the way he was arguing, it was something, and sometimes you think that, okay, and he would be so technical in terms of certain bank laws. And
Okay.
I realized that not only facts but law, like, how it really helps you.
Yeah.
So he kept afloat without getting any attachment for quite long time, citing a lot of technicalities in the law, that why this doesn't hold true, why this doesn't hold true.
Hmm.
And I'm not really revealing it because, first of all, I don't remember a lot of it, and secondly, I mean, I don't want to reveal the name of the bank, but yeah, but it
Definitely.
was so interesting. And that was an era where, this is like 2004, and that time the banking documents, of course, were evolved, but not that involved. Today we see banking documents evolve to another level.
Yeah.
Like, we have like multiple layers of protection, like, if somebody is a defaulter, like for even companies
Yeah.
those days, with government banks, there were certain set of, they will have these, one-sided agreements, clauses, everything, and yet they were not that involved. And this lawyer who was the defaulter, he would argue it out that, see, this is not in sync with this is
Uh,
what it is. And he would even cite US law.
yeah.
And very interesting, and how he will bring the perspective of the US law into this, and he will, like, he will match it, that this law in India and that law, and Indian banking laws are actually more complex than US.
Yes, yes. And
He would
probably
bring in,
your senior must have done a lot of homework on comparing the both the laws, how it is going between
yes,
US and
yes,
how it is.
yes, he,
And that's
he
how
did.
what I think that it's about doing homework. When you become a lawyer, you need to be prepared before even going in the courts, because you should know about the case laws, you should know about the act, you should know about your client fully, and a lot of homework has to be done, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. You rightly said so. So
Yeah,
you have to know what your client is doing, what he does, what not. And sometimes client don't give you the correct picture.
yeah,
Not intentionally, but they just probably don't know what to say. So
yeah,
it's an art, to be honest, to, when they give you information, they'll give you, sometimes, they'll dump a lot of paper.
yeah,
And to filter that paper,
yeah,
and as an in-house counsel, I realized that's the kind of job of an in-house counsel should be, that you filter it out, because when you speak to a business person, of course his idea is of business.
yeah,
He won't know that what information is important, why it's important, though. Like, nowadays people read a lot. I mean, a lot of marketing, sales, a lot of
yeah,
people, those who are involved in business, they read a lot and understand law also.
yeah,
I should give it to them, like, really, really very well. Many people, I mean, during my course of life and experience, I met so many people who would understand it so well, that they will come up with briefs, and they will make papers, and they will create in such a format that you have very less to do. I mean, you feel so happy, my God, they've done half of your work.
yeah,
And but ultimately it is the lawyer's job to see it.
yeah,
So when it comes to the in-house counsel and the external counsel, of course both of them make a team, and to kind of understand what was the matter, and where now the law fits, what how you basically get this relief, how to what an extent you can benefit your client, how you can do it, because
yeah.
it doesn't come only in theory, in terms of that law is applicable. Now, what was
Mhm.
the is it really possible in the facts of this case, plus what is the procedural lapses have, like, say you may have a fit case, but you are out of your limitation.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
then how, so there are major lot of applicability of mind.
yes,
So
yes,
that's what I feel like, if, and I always say, if you're good at logic, you'll always be good at law. So
yeah,
law is nothing but logic. I won't complicate things for anybody, but law is nothing but logic. If you have logic, good logic, you'll be able to understand, because ultimately people those who judge, or people those who sit at the opposite side, they're all humans, just
yeah.
like you and me.
So what I understand is when somebody is able to analyze what's the history behind it, then probably they can understand why the law was made, and what is the purpose behind it, and then they can apply more logically to the law exactly,
Absolutely.
and about the case studies as well. So now, moving forward, you have gained a lot of exposure in trademark, copyright, patents at Krishna and
That's right.
Complex Free Associates LLP.
Yes.
Could you actually share some intricacies of intellectual property law? So what I understand is, Sumita, you have gained a lot of exposure in your initial time. What I understand is, be it arbitration, DRT, everything. So, did you actually also, I would also like to know that when you had a lot of exposure, did you find at what stage you find that this is what I should have the niche in, or I should be expert in, or you have a different opinion on knowing everything and and master of all. So what is your view on that?
So I always felt curious. I'm a very curious person, so I
Yeah,
always feel very curious about what's happening. I'm
yeah,
more like a MD general medicine in law, I would say.
yeah, yeah,
So I feel I should know a little bit of everything. And in case, of course, if I need a lot of, I realize in life, no, if you want to do something, like you want to excel something, then you cannot do anything else.
Hmm.
You have to be just doing, and you need a lifetime doing. Say, if you want to be excel, you want to excel in trials. You
Yeah.
have to have a lifetime doing only trials because you
Hmm.
have the amount of experience that nobody else can beat.
Yeah.
So it's like that. So I thought that's too much of a toil because you're doing only one thing and spending the lifetime, and probably that's not really my cup of tea because, as I said, I'm very curious, so I need to know everything. Like, as I said, I read, and I kind of want to know what's going on around. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's my natural inclination. So does
Hmm.
this doing only one thing suit my natural inclination? Sometimes, as I said, you may like eating dahi, but it doesn't go with your system because you are
Yeah.
lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
So 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 very well, I might like to do, but yeah, but I realize that no, I get curious about many things. Then I have to read that, I have to understand that. So then I realized that being a generalist is my kind of thing,
Hmm.
because at least the first 5 layers, of course, I will know. Maybe I will not know, like, the depth of it. Like, if somebody has to be an insolvency expert, I will not know, like, the end of it, but half of it I will definitely know. And
Yeah.
of course,
Yeah.
then, of course, I have peers who do, but mostly I think people have taken that path that they want to be in one and keep doing the same thing, but it's
Yeah.
like a lot of repetition. Of course, the repetition makes you
Yeah, it
sharper
becomes
in that
monotonous
subject.
many a times. Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes monotonous as well.
Yeah.
So you have to have that aptitude that you overcome the monotony, and you still keep your interest renewed, and become sharper and sharper day every day.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of chose to be a generalist, that I want to know intellectual property, I want to know, say, insolvency, I want to know arbitration, I want to know, say, anything going on in patent law, or I want to know if uniform civil code is coming, then what is happening in that, or say a negotiable instruments act. So I read mostly everything.
Yeah.
And of course, because I also switched to the corporate side, so you need everything, then you are a small law firm by
That was
yourself.
my next question to you, and you just answered that because I wanted to ask even that when you have a generalist kind of thing you are reading, then does that I am sure that that also helps you to get that position as a leadership position in the corporate, because then they know that when you are navigating yourself to a new role as a head legal or legal counsel, you should know all kind of laws what are applicable on their company. So if you are a generalist, then
Absolutely.
that is absolutely a right kind of fit for that role. That's what I understand.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely, because I mean, I always felt that once you're an in-house counsel,
yeah,
or even if you are a practicing lawyer,
yeah,
because anybody can walk in tomorrow. Somebody may have a matrimonial dispute, somebody may
yeah,
have a tax dispute, somebody may have a, okay, I want to file a criminal defamation, or
yeah,
I want to, somebody has usurped my property and I want to file a specific relief for
yeah,
something.
yeah,
So you or somebody wants to do a testamentary, so, like, anybody can walk into you, and you should be able to have the appetite. Now, if large scale law firms I have to see,
yeah,
basically what they have done is they are generalists. So they
yes,
have employed different people who may specialize, but ultimately they are able to cater most of their clients.
yeah,
And that is what I want to replicate as a person, as a
yeah,
small law firm,
yeah,
you're by yourself, so that you are able to help your client. I always say that whenever you're working with a company, they are basically your client.
yeah,
So so you are able to help your client, giving complete
precisely.
guidance and assistance in terms of, they may have employment matters, they may have
Mm,
arbitration matters, it can be a transaction, it can be simple guidance, it can be just understanding where are my risks, how will it play out. So yeah, so this really helps as in a person who sits in that chair, because anybody can come up, like, as a business. I always feel businesses there. I mean, you think something as a big company, a big
yeah,
business, replicate it to small. Suppose if you're running a shop, you may have an issue with the customer, you may have an issue with the government, you may have issue with a tax
yeah,
thing. have issue, tomorrow somebody comes in and just breaks something.
Yeah.
So you kind of replicate that little
Yeah.
bit on a smaller scale. You understand why would you need somebody who's a generalist. So
Yeah.
yes, it makes a fitting choice to be a generalist because you can help so much.
So you held a significant role being a head of legal at Samsonite and general counsel at Enacon India. So what kind of key challenges you have faced in these leadership positions?
So I became a leader when I was 26.
Okay.
So I was the only woman leader at Samsonite. I'm always thankful to them that they gave me that sort of
Opportunity.
opportunity at that age.
Yeah.
Uh, the management, beautiful, all of them, and very encouraging. And so I still remember I was the only woman, and I was very young. So I
Mm-hmm.
was younger than everybody,
Okay. Hmm.
everybody,
I can
and most
imagine. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And most of the business leaders,
Yeah.
they would think that okay, how can she really be like, how can she really do this role? Or
Yes. Yes.
she's like a child, because a lot of them had daughters maybe like
Yeah.
5, 6 years younger to me.
They must be thinking
So
that she's so immature, maybe at 26. But now I would say that in this era of startups, many young people are moving forward and achieving that great heights. Yeah.
absolutely, but we're talking 14 years back.
Yeah.
So people did think
Yeah.
immature, but people did think that young,
Yeah.
that very young, which is
Yeah.
really young. And a lot of people would think that okay, like a lot of times I was doing a lot of negotiations and I was doing a lot of contract related
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
So if I would say that we should not do this, so then they would say that okay, she's so young and she's telling us we shouldn't be agreeing to this or we shouldn't be agreeing to this.
Yeah.
And they would sometimes, not always, but most of the people were very very accommodating and adjusting, though they felt that I was very young. But yes, sometimes they did feel that, oh, she's so young and she's telling us this, what
Yeah.
would she know about the world? We
Yeah.
have held business portfolios,
Okay.
we know.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so that were the challenges at that point of time that I had,
Yeah.
that they thought that, okay, this how does this work? And but then you have to work with the conviction and you have to work with your confidence, and
Yeah.
you have to tell, see, this is where it will play out. And that's when the entire training in the court helped a lot,
Hmm.
because you know how it plays out in the court. Now
Yeah.
that is the understanding these guys don't have.
Hmm.
So you have to explain to them that this is where probably we will get stuck.
Yes.
And in fact, if it is about the risk taking, at least one can educate that these are the risks. If we take, we enter this transaction, these are the risks,
Yeah.
but we'll be able to handle these risks. So
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
these are the risks we will face.
Your current role as a director at Advanced Auto Parts, you mentioned that you are involved in educating the stakeholders and navigating the complex regulatory landscapes. So how do you
That's right.
actually balance that aspect with ever-changing regulatory environments?
Again, a great question, Neha, because these two portfolios are very separate portfolios, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
being held by one. Like, because during my stint with Advanced Auto Parts, now all these portfolios in US are held by different departments and different people
Okay.
under the legal department, but yeah, under different senior members and different departments. And like all this translates to one person in India. So how do you balance? Of course, you get support from the company, you get support from your peers, and because of course it's very difficult to do. It's like you don't operate in isolation, like
Yeah.
you operate in tandem with a lot of people.
Yeah.
So when it came with the legal portfolio of court, I had like three different people who were working there, and great support. Everybody was very very helpful and very supportive. Absolutely. And so you get a lot of help. And with respect to the public policy work, given it was the Indian regulatory space wherein I had to do a lot of R&D and speaking to the
Yeah.
government, and so that was where you basically get the information and
Yeah.
pass on, and and then people process and assimilate, and then we formulate a strategy. So how to balance it? Of course, I think take help and ask for help. And I think if you are not able to, these are, one has to understand that when you are handling three or four different buckets, of course they are different buckets, and that will kind of interfere with one another. So
Yeah,
that's when one has to smartly ask for help. And things that you've been doing, say, 15 years already,
yeah.
so you'll be able to do, but they are voluminous. So that's when either take external help or take internal help. And how I balanced this, I basically took help. And
That's a
secondly, with respect to
collaborative approach
communication,
you take, actually.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
now I would like you to help for our aspiring legal professionals who are listening to the podcast. What advice you would be giving them, if I ask you to give some advice?
I would advise them, first of all, that do not ignore what you're studying in college.
Yeah,
Pay a lot of attention to it, what you're studying. If you have taken a profession of law, even thinking that, oh, I didn't get engineering, because in India, this has been the trend that
yeah.
people don't get into
Candidates are
engineering or
confused.
something else. That's when they take up law. They don't take it by choice. So, but once you have taken in, please, now you're destined to be a lawyer. Please pay a lot of attention to what you're
Yeah,
studying, because this is going to go a long, long
yeah,
way.
yeah,
I would tell people to pursue more practice, because it gives you a lot of perspective. So people, those who are training to be in corporate, I would say that please spend some time, maybe initial first 5 8 years in practice. Join someone, even while you're at college. Please join someone, ask any senior that, can I join you virtually, can I do some work for you? Do say, of course, every case is R&D.
yeah,
Every case, when senior lawyers, everybody go, people do a lot of research and development, in terms of people do research in of the precedents. People read what was it, what was not. So say, at least we can do that sort of work for you, if not
yeah,
anything else, if not filing physically, but virtually. Please combine like practical knowledge and what you're reading in the books together as much as possible,
mm,
and pay attention towards marks also, but not only towards marks.
yeah,
Of
yeah,
course, see what is there, how it's being applied, application
yes,
of that law. It's so beautiful. It won't really need to memorize a lot of text. I mean, you will be
yeah,
able to see through with that understanding. So that's my first advice. And second advice will be to a lot of women who want to pursue law, that please take it up. I think it's a great, great profession
yeah,
for women,
yeah,
because it gives you a certain inherent kind of confidence. Because
yes,
I think in all other
absolutely,
professions,
absolutely,
yeah,
yeah,
because you know the law of the land, and it gives
yes.
you that sort of confidence and power to establish yourself. So women, definitely, I would
That will
encourage a lot of
definitely
them.
boost their confidence in what actually is, even I think in the same direction that women should pick up this, and this actually will help them gain that confidence and also become independent, which is the need of an hour. Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. Because one informed woman, as rightly said earlier times, that she educates the entire family.
yeah,
So imagine a good, powerful lawyer. How
yeah,
much will that go around? Not only the family, the
yeah,
neighbors, and other women. Because
hmm,
one educated, outstanding woman will take with her 15 more, 50 more, and that will help the country. Of course, increase the literacy,
yes,
increase,
yes,
first of all, a lot of women upliftment. Because still today, I see, even in metros, even in cities, people just study, women study, and then they get married, and they just, I mean,
yeah, they are lost.
their potential
They're
is all
lost.
wasted.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So imagine if, like, a lot of women come to the mainstream and work. Of course, the companies, the country's progress will be somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
More hands, more minds,
Yeah,
and women are known to be like, I mean, we are like multifunctional. We are like we work in so many directions in one time.
yeah,
So they have that sort of approach. They can think like 10 times at once,
yeah,
and like, and can do also things like, as even mothers and homemakers, they
yeah,
handle so many buckets. Like the other day, I was telling my sister that getting a child to school look like maybe one activity, but it involves so many activities,
yeah.
like so
True.
much you have to
Yeah,
do. So it is quite daunting. So I feel
yeah,
that please study and get into this profession,
yeah,
practice. I think it's a great profession,
yeah.
and women should definitely take it up.
Thank you, Sumita, for sharing your incredible journey and insight with us. It has been pleasure having you on Legal Stair Minds. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Neha, to have me here. It was pleasure talking to you, and of
Yeah,
course,
same
great
here.
questions and
Same here. Same.
great initiative for a lot of people.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.